everybody. Welcome back to the Heelcast. I am the former, and we will get into that later, AEW Exalted Dude. And this week I am joined by my brother at arms, my brother in crime, none other than the man himself, Hurls. How's it going this evening, Hurls?
You know, tonight is going to be very depressing if you're a Hurls fan and you are looking for some happiness and uplifting talk about wrestling. Well, I hate to burst your bubble because tonight it's not going to be that. I don't even know where to go with this whole thing, and we will get into it. But tonight I'm sorry if you're expecting the normal Hurls, because you're just not going to get it tonight, and we'll go through why that is. But wow, this is going to be a interesting show. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting show, and you're not going to get the normal whatever the hell my name is either, because tonight we're unplugged, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, but we are going to get to it, and we're going to do it all in good time. And we may or may not be joined by Raven Effect at some point during the show. If not, there will be a Ravens rant that will get posted out this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. Hurls, we got to plug our boys, right? So we got to plug Andre Corbeil, Wrestling with Wrestling. We must absolutely plug ImpactAsylum.net. Always been our home on the internet, as is Wrestling with Wrestling now as well. If you haven't checked those guys out, go ahead and check them out. So Hurls, here's the thing, man. Let's try to start the show off on a somewhat positive note, because I don't think it's gonna go very far, and I know it ain't gonna end there. Okay, but let's talk about something good that's happened, and it's Impact, right? And how many times has Impact been the promotion that has delivered all this shitty news over the years?
Quite often.
So in this twisted, upside down world that we live in, of course it would be Impact that would deliver something positive. They put out a video teasing EC3 and Spud, although we're pretty sure Spud's not coming, Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis, Doc Gallows, Machine Gun Anderson, Curtis Hawkins, Brian Myers, Rusev, and of course everybody's favorite Eric Young, right? This video was put together spectacular. I mean, it was just very, very, very well produced, I thought anyway, personally. And really, you know, Hurls, if they're able to get this talent, or even the majority of this talent, this is a coup for Impact Wrestling.
Oh, yeah. This right here is the only reason I'm still going to watch. This video package saved my wrestling interest after this week. This was the most hype Impact Wrestling has had since the Access TV deal, but I don't even think that got as much hype as this did. This video package was something that Impact hasn't done in a very, very long time, and it was something that they needed to do to get more eyeballs on the product, and they achieved it. They got the wrestling world talking. It was awesome. It was an awesome video. And it's just one of those things that gets you excited for wrestling. It gets you pumped up again, you know. And not only that, it led into an advertisement for the pay-per-view. Now that's brilliant. Not just like, oh, Impact in 3 weeks. This led into a teaser to buy the pay-per-view. I just think this was a really, really brilliant move, and it really helped that they actually got a newscaster to actually do that segment. It was just really well done. I mean, like, even the Easter eggs that were in there, like you mentioned it, you said Rusev, but obviously he's never been in Impact before, but just them putting the Bulgaria flag in there, I think that was just absolutely brilliant. It was great. I have not watched Impact yet, and we'll get into that, why I haven't watched it yet, but I did see this promo, and it's the only reason I'm going to go back and watch Impact, because, yeah, there's really not much else to say. It was just really well done.
Now, I'm not having a Donovan Dijak moment because Donovan Dijak moments requires saying you have insider knowledge and know that something's going to happen. But I'm gonna make a big prediction here in a second. Okay, and I haven't done this in a long time, and I'm gonna let you hold me over the coals if it doesn't happen. Okay, but let's think about this for a second. Obviously, Spud resigned with WWE, and he's going to NXT. But if they got EC3, if they got Mike and Maria, Gallows and Anderson, Hawkins, Rusev, and EY, who currently on the Impact roster has more star power than pretty much any of those guys?
I mean, if you're talking like all time, or you
I mean, today, we're trying to draw viewers today. Okay. So like, you can't say Shamrock 20 years ago might have been bigger than Doc Gallows. I'm sure. Talking about like as it sits today, or or what? Who's got more star power than they do?
I mean, you could argue none.
You could argue none. You could very strong argument against that. You might be able to. You could argue RVD, but he's kind of used more as a secondary attraction anyway right now.
Right.
Here's the argument. They basically, if they bring these guys in, they have reworked the top of their card. And that's my point here. These are top of the card guys for them. And now let me ask you another question. Who's Impact's biggest star?
If I'm ranking it, I'll just give two who I think are their biggest stars because they draw the most attention. I think it's Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And I'm going to say that the biggest star is going to be Tessa Blanchard. Okay. When you look at their lineup for their show, right? They put out graphics saying what's coming up next week. You see a lot of female wrestling, right? I mean, they have their knockouts division's fantastic. Am I right or not? I mean, they're locked, they're loaded, and they keep growing that division. Am I right or not?
You're correct.
And the only way to really do this right is to give them more airtime, which is what they're doing, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, what network are they on again?
Access.
Does Access have any other wrestling programs that they promote?
Wow.
Do they? I'm asking a question.
Oh, well, here's the thing.
Wow, right?
Here's the thing. Yeah,
Women of wrestling.
Right.
So they've got this Women of Wrestling program. Now, is that a real popular show, or is that just a show that they're kind of promoting right now?
It's just kind of show they're promoting, but it's in the off-season.
Is it as big a deal as Impact's knockout division?
No, I don't think it is.
And do we have an inkling as to how much cheaper it is to pay them to produce it versus to produce, say, a second Impact show for their female wrestlers?
It's cheaper to do it yourself.
It's cheaper to do it yourself. And is it not possible that they have built Tessa to be this star so that they would have a superstar for their second show, the women's show?
Very possible.
And is it possible that they used intergender as a way to just put eyes on the fact that they have great women, potentially knowing the entire time that they were going to shove her over on her own show and give her the reins as a great way to re-sign her with her contract coming up, timed kind of interestingly to some of these signings that we're seeing with the men, because now they need a new top card for their men's division, which has really been decimated due to budget cuts that maybe they have a couple extra bucks in their pocket for now.
Yeah.
So, and I've been saying this for a while. It's not the first time that I mentioned that I thought they could be gearing up for a female-only show. But when I just writing these names down this evening, I'm going, they got nobody that's really with all these names that they're bringing in. And typically you've heard they don't have the money, they don't have the funding, that they're penny pinching this, that, the other. But in reality, this would be a phenomenal way to introduce a second show that way, right? And it's also possible that Impact could become the women's show, and they could go back to TNA for the men. because people are talking about Impact, more TNA. Let Impact be a female-only show, right? Your Impact champion is who again?
Tessa Blanchard.
And there is a TNA champion, right?
Correct.
And
Moose.
that would Moose. Interesting how that's working right now, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, again, this is conjecture because I don't have the inside source to tell me Donovan Dijak has been signed by Impact Wrestling, but again, I'm dropping a bomb here that I could see this happening.
All the points that you made are very logical, and there's got to be a reason why they're signing all these female talents.
And the male talents, they can't support all these people on one show.
No, not in a 2-hour show.
Nope.
Especially if you're bringing that many in.
Right. They're gearing up. They have to be gearing up for a second show. The question is, what's a second show? To me, that would be a great way to do the second show with all the talent that they've got.
Yeah. Well, also, my prediction, and these could tie together, by the way. My prediction was strictly they're bringing back the knockout tag team titles. But if your prediction is they're getting a second show, well, obviously the knockout tag team titles are coming back because you're going to need more than just the heavyweight title. So both can be true. And there's definitely 100% something's up their sleeve. And that's kind of the really interesting part of this whole thing is, okay, so they're either going to get, I think it's going to come down to two things. They're either going to have the women's show or they're going to do some type of split brand roster.
Right. That would be the other option.
Right. But I don't know if they, the more I thought about it, I don't know if they want to go down that route. So if you have a women's show, I think that may make even more sense.
I think it's hard to split the roster. I don't like the way that WWE does it. Well, I mean, I don't like WWE, so I think we probably realize. Well, that's not true. If I like the way they do it, I would say it. I always like the way that WCW did it, right? Where the traffic just moved back and forth between the two shows, and they just treated it as an extension, right? And that's how they did it. I like that the most. They gave them an opportunity to have more stars and whatnot, and it was a little bit more, especially when you watched both Nitro and Thunder, more way of doing it. But it's also a little bit harder than having two sets. But it just strikes me the way that they're pushing the women, as hard as they're pushing the women. It doesn't feel like they're trying to say, well, we need more women because we're going to have a second show. It feels like they're trying to say these women are going to stand out on their own. That's the difference right there. And all the women are signing there. I mean, they're all signing in droves. They're getting everybody. Now, they deserve to get everybody because they're pushing the women a lot better than God forbid, AEW, right? And WWE, they'll get whatever they want just because they will. I mean, But at any rate, just kind of something to keep an eye on, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to talk about the Impact women, and we mentioned Tessa Blanchard as that star, was she at the tapings this past weekend?
She was not present.
She is still hanging tight in Mexico. Not the place to be, Tessa. Not the place to be. But I do understand that my favorite wrestler and fellow Baltimorean, Jordan Disgrace, made it to the tapings.
Yep.
She was back. So we got to give her at least some credit. She said that she hadn't wrestled since like the beginning of March because she hadn't been going out anywhere. So she apparently she came back and I guess defended the title. Hopefully dropped the title. That's a different story. But I understand that Taya made it, and I understand that the North must have busted through the that big wall that Trump's building up there in Canada, right? And somehow managed to make it to the tapings through a border crossing. How does that work?
I was wondering that myself when I saw them. They made it. I was thinking, okay, so are you able to travel now? So how were they able to get through? I mean, as far as I know, I thought we still had a travel ban. Unless I, I have, I don't know. Maybe they've loosened. Maybe they just take your temperature and they test you. I have no clue how they were able to get across the border.
Well, apparently they did it.
Mm-hmm.
The Canadian border is not exactly the most, shall we say, patrolled border on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they actually just will close the stations and just put up, a little gate or something like that. If you get a friend on the other side or a car on the other side, all you get to is just walk around it. I mean, I've witnessed this firsthand trying to get into Canada before on a snowmobile, and it was like, well, that was hard. So it indeed hurls is a thing. But hey, they made it. So and apparently Jordan was joking around with Chris Van Vliet on his show and saying that she's going to be the longest reigning knockouts champion because she refuses to defend it because it's COVID-19 season. Yeah. Now, speaking while we're on the subject of Impact, we might as well just finish off with the Impact news, and that's kind of centered around the Virtual Basements wrestling game. So I understand that something's going on, and Impact has decided to remove some but not all stars from that game.
Yeah, some really depressing news, in my opinion. Virtual Basement, if you haven't known by now, they're this company that's making this new wrestling game. Everything they're saying about this new wrestling game is just a wrestling fan's dream if you play video games. I mean, from everything from a huge, gigantic roster of everybody who's not in AEW or WWE, to 4-side, 6-sided ring, all these different customizable options for matches, so many different match types, 1,000 creator wrestlers, so you can create pretty much anyone you want in wrestling, to the point of being able to design your own, create your own belts. And it's just, the game sounds absolutely amazing. They said it's not going to be a game where it comes out every year like WWE. It's going to be just one standard game with updates that are going to be it's just going to be updates instead of just buying a new game every year. So the roster is always going to get bigger, which is amazing. And this game, they just signed Eli Drake in EC3. I mean, coming off 2 huge signings for this game. They also had 5 Impact wrestlers on this game. They had Cody Deaner, Fallah Bahh, Su Young, Rich Swann, and Kylie Ray. To my knowledge, they also have Ken Shamrock, but Ken Shamrock and Petey Williams, I should say. But those 2 have like unrestricted contracts with Impact. So basically they're allowed to stay in the game. But the other 5 got pulled. We do not know why Impact pulled them. There's really no clue as to why they pulled them. This is kind of something it's being hushed about. I did my investigative journal, duties, and I reached out to 3 different wrestlers from Impact. I got no response as of yet from either 3. I reached out to a wrestling promoter who's been critical of the Virtual Basement contracts. I won't say his name because I want to hold some integrity. I don't want to be one of those guys, and he would not really go into specifics.
Does it rhyme with Vincent Meek Mahan?
Sure.
Or sound a lot like Triple G?
I reached out. I really got nothing. It was pretty much a non-answer, and it was like, I think maybe he misunderstood what I was asking. I don't know. It wasn't really a friendly response, in my opinion. So all I was trying to do is just figure out, okay, maybe he could give me a little more insight as to why these contracts aren't good or why they're bad, possibly. But here's my problem with it. Impact Wrestling has really, really lacked in the merchandising department. Really lacked. Ever since Jeff Jarrett's left, they have lacked. They used to have they've had two action figure deals when Jeff Jarrett was there. They had one with Toy Wiz, who made the WCW figures towards the end. I believe it was like from 99 to 2001, and TNA picked them up, and they had them until they went out of business. And then TNA signed with Jakks Pacific because WWE left Jakks Pacific to sign with Mattel. So TNA had that run with, Jakks Pacific, but then lo and behold, maybe about 2014, Jeff Jarrett's no longer there. That went away, and Jakks and Impact Wrestling went their own separate ways. Impact has not had an action figure deal since. I know I play this other game that's kind of like a card dice game. It's created by Phil Singer Games, and it's basically like a wrestling card dice game. Phil Singer Games has basically partnered up with a ton of promotions, basically a lot of indies, but they've also partnered up with Ring of Honor. I know specifically that Phil Singer Games has reached out to Impact Wrestling, and every time they've done, Impact Wrestling just declines. Okay, so that goes to the video game. TNA Wrestling made one game back in 2008. It was multi-platform called TNA Impact. It wasn't the greatest game, but I thought it had a decent start. And ever since then, they when they had that game with Midway goes out of business and gets acquired by Warner Brothers. Unfortunately, they just kind of left the TNA franchise for video games in the dust. So we really have not had any sort of merchandising deals with TNA since this period, and it is something that TNA really, really lacks. Even Ring of Honor is partnering up with these. I mean, they partnered up with Figures Toy Company, just this independent toy company. Ring of Honor partnered with them. Ring of Honor partnered with Phil Singer Games. And my whole question is, if you're going to take Su Yung out of the game, you're going to take Rich Swann, Fallah Bahh, you're going to take them out, then you better have a plan to make your own game. Because if you don't, I think this is just absolutely stupid. Because if you're not going to use the rights anyway, why are you taking them out of the video game? Now, I don't know what the contract is. I don't know what Impact didn't like about it. I wish they would just be, a little more forefront about it, but they don't have to. So I'm just going to, be upset that they took out a game where I could have played as Su Yung and Fallah Bahh. So
I mean, who wouldn't want to play a game as Fallah Bahh? Especially when he could wrestle. Could you imagine Fallah Bahh versus Su Yung in a wrestling game? That actually sounds like a hell of a fun match. I'm just saying. Look. Here's the only thing, Hurls, and I know that we might as well just call you Butthurt Hurls tonight, because man, it's just gonna get worse as this show goes on, and I'm gonna be right there with you. I'm not even gonna attempt to lie. But here's the thing. Understand that those contracts that were being questioned because they thought they were giving the game developer too many rights to use the stars and their likenesses, right? I think they were also giving them it for a lot of other things, and I think in defending the game itself, it might have to do with the fact that, well, we need to be able to promote you to put you on our game cover, this, that, the other, and the way the contract was written was. My understanding is the reason that people were complaining about it was that it was maybe a little too generic, right? And they were giving away a little too much. And Impact was probably like, hey, we can't have them have rights to these people forever, which I don't think that there was a timeline on it, is kind of the way it was described at that level. Now, that having been said, they're not going to tell you, and I'm going to take the opposite stance on it and say I appreciate the fact they're not going to tell us, because the only way for them to tell us would be to expose the contract. And then all they'd be doing is bringing down Virtual Basement. I don't think there's a need to do that. They're still going to put out a wrestling game. People can still enjoy it. If Impact goes out and says that, they're just literally destroying this company by saying it. They're likely to get sued for slander, this, that, or the other. Anyway, it's best to just remove them. Have you be butthurt for a while about it, and move on. I don't see them making a game. I don't games. You gotta sell a lot of copies in order for them to be profitable. It's gonna be this Virtual Basement wrestling game is probably gonna be a disaster if you really want to know the truth. And so I just don't see it happening. They're not big enough for that. But that's my 2 cents on it.
I just want to add a few things. So, AEW comes out, with less than a year, they already got an action figure deal. Okay. I just don't think they think this stuff is a big deal. I really don't, because, if they did, they would have it done.
Well, it's the sales. It's the sales. I mean, look, if you don't sell those toys, they come back. And when you put a product on a shelf at a store, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you actually buy shelf space. You buy it in the sense of it's marketing discount, right? It's included in the price they pay. So if you want an end cap at the grocery store, you basically got to give them a good deal to get there, right? And you're going to make it up by selling more product. They gotta pay all that. They gotta pay for the manufacturing, and if they don't sell millions of copies of these, action figures, Hurls, it can't be, like you, Cody, and Colby buying them. It's got to be like in mass, and they don't have the following for it. They just don't, and they're not going to, because they're on Access TV, which is just a small network. It's not what their DNA is. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay. It's okay that they don't have it too, I guess, is the other thing. Some mark out there is going to be pissed off because they said that they're not big. It's okay. That's not what their model is.
No, I totally understand it, which that totally makes sense. But like, not pairing up with a company like Figures Toy Company, which totally just separately operates online. That's their whole business model. They just operate online. They only make like a limited number of these action figures. Like, they make a lot, but like once they're sold out basically. So I just don't see the harm in them pairing up with a company like them. I don't get it. I
mean, that would would work,
I mean, Ring of Honor pairs up with them. Ring of Honor's paired up with both of the companies I just mentioned. I don't see why Impact couldn't do that. That's all I'm really saying. I think it just it hurts, because I think fans want these, they want to buy some of this stuff. I think they're kind of losing out on that. That's just my 2 cents. I totally get your point about the, when they sign with Jax, they obviously had to buy shelf space.
Yeah.
So that totally makes sense. Jax is a huge toy maker company. I was going to say, and then the other thing to bring up is the other wrestling game that's coming out, and I think I mentioned this, the Retromania one, which is the sequel to the early 90s arcade game, WWF WrestleFest. They just announced Chris Bay is in the game. Okay, so Chris Bay's in this Retromania, as far as I've been told. I have not seen anything that he's gotten pulled from that game. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Impact pulls him as well from Retromania Wrestling.
I mean, it could be a different contract that he signed, and here's the other thing too, right? I mean, who on this planet knows about Retromania? Oh, that's right, all 3 of the NWA's viewers. and you know what? They have ruined that game for me. I couldn't buy that game because of that. Not that I buy games anyway or play with action figures for that fact, but man. Oh man! Say, speaking of the NWA, we got Eli Drake. A little birdie named Hurls actually told me that Eli Drake had re-signed with the NWA for apparently another year, or a couple months if it doesn't make it a whole year. Hurls, what's the down low on this one, man?
Yeah, he gave a lot of information about this. Just kind of gave like a timeline of basically his last 6 years in the wrestling business. He basically signed with Impact. WWE had tried to give him an offer every single year from 2016 to 2018, but Impact kept giving him raises, so he remained with Impact. WWE's contracts, every time they wanted to sign him, they gave him the same money, and it was significantly less than what Impact was giving him. So he says in the interview that that's the reason he never went to WWE. He also had a lot of problems with Bill DeMott. He did not get along with him, so that was another reason. But he also said that there's people over there in WWE now that he would probably get along very well with. But he also said he's spoken to a lot of those wrestlers over there, and it's kind of like the grass is not always greener on the other side type of thing. So he said, maybe it's best I don't go there. There was even a point when he left Impact last spring 2019 that he was going to sign with AEW. The contracts, talks, negotiations got so far that he actually had his own theme music picked out, debut in AEW. And then,
wow.
Yeah. And then they were just kind of reworking the contracts, and then every time they reworked the contract, AEW just kind of changed some, lettering, something, and Eli Drake didn't agree with it, and they could not work out a deal. It just fell through. And that's when NWA was able to pick him up, and he signed. He just said that he re-signed with NWA for another year, so he's going to be in the NWA at least till June 2021.
Now, is he going to be in the NWA or is he going to be in Carneyland? This is what I need to know.
Probably Carneyland.
He actually has his own Eli Drake show now on their YouTube channel as well. He's got one. My favorite one is What's Causing All This, right? Just a play on Nick Aldis's name, where he sits around with Crimson and he sits around with Bram, and they talk about their terrible, horrible experiences at Impact Wrestling. And and Aldis comes off looking like he's a pretty well-oiled machine and pretty good on the mic, and Bram comes off okay, and you're just sitting there staring at Crims like, what the hell are you doing here? But yeah, Eli Drake has his own show on YouTube now, so if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and give that a check out. And the only other news that I've got is apparently Arn Anderson has re-signed with AEW.
I mean, why not? They respect, lineage. They respect tradition, and he's doing a heck of a job. They use him every week, like you said. And I think I think they've used him more in the 1 year that he's been in AEW than WWE ever used him in his entire last 15 years over there. So
I feel like Steve Austin, Stone Cold, used Arn Anderson fairly well when he was in WWE. You know what I'm referring to, right? When Austin pissed on him.
Oh, I do not know. I did not hear this.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to
find the video and forward it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, at any rate, Arn Anderson back with All Elite Wrestling. It just kind of goes to show you that All Elite Wrestling is really trying to appeal to the WCW crowd, at least in their product anyway. Arn Anderson, Jake Roberts, they're really going after that crowd, which is interesting, Hurls, because that crowd is a very southern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Older, because you're talking about your middle-aged folks, your 40 to 50-year-olds, and conservative crowd. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
So we're gonna skip now into show reviews on that note. So Hurls, I didn't get a chance to watch Impact this week. Could you review Impact for me?
I cannot.
No. Oh, interesting. Well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't watch AEW either. So maybe you could give us a 5-minute Hurls breakdown on Dynamite?
I got nothing.
Oh man. So what you're trying to tell me is that neither one of us watched Impact and neither one of us watched AEW. Now I haven't missed an AEW ever. This is the first one I missed. Period. End of story. Even the one that I missed before the pay-per-view, I made up after the pay-per-view before the next one came in. And I was on vacation. And you haven't missed an Impact in probably like a decade. I mean, you never miss Impact. So the question that I have for you is, why did you suddenly choose to not watch either show?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
This is where the
hard.
show goes south quick.
Yeah.
This is where it gets bad.
Yeah. This is the part I was dreading all night. Trying to come to terms of how I'm gonna speak on this and why I just had no energy to watch any wrestling this week. Just none. I mean, well, first off, I'm going to give it the least controversial reason why I did not watch wrestling. It was because I was just drained. Because I was concerned. I was concerned about the country. I was concerned about where it was going. And I'm just concerned about how people are acting and how it's just been just complete chaos, and people are defending that chaos. That's the first and foremost reason. I was just drained. I just could not. I just keep seeing these different news stories across the U.S. and it's just like sickening. And not only that, one of the biggest vocal, groups about, these when stuff like this happens, you get your Hollywood celebs. Okay, they're gonna take the same opinion. They're gonna throw their nasty insults and just absolutely disgusting comments they're making, promoting violence, promoting police, just trying to attack the police, just, you know what I mean? It's just absolutely sickening. But then there's another group, which is the group that I watch every week. And I'm not saying it's all of them, but a good portion of professional wrestling takes these stances that kind of coincide with the Hollywood elites. And I see what's coming out of their mouth. I see their retweets. I see all this stuff. And it was just absolutely disgusting what they were saying and just how misinformed they are when it comes to actual real life. They live in their own bubble. They live in their own echo chamber. And I'm going to give you a little background on myself. I used to be a liberal at one point, believe it or not. I used to be a hardcore vote. I always voted pretty much Democrat for a while. But then you just kind of start seeing things. You see how, how corrupt and how much, and I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get the, look at this, look at that, look what, Trump's doing. But you see these, Democratic presidential candidates, you see the mayors, you see the governors, you see them just play politics, and you see them cost all these people their lives, and you see how much harm they put our police officers in when they don't need to do it. And it's just absolutely disgusting. And I turned conservative. It's not always aligning with Republicans because we've had some crappy candidates. I'll tell you that much. Mitt Romney, John McCain.
John McCain.
Really, piss poor. I mean, just absolutely piss poor candidates. There's no question. But with me, when I see these wrestlers just spewing this hatred, spewing these lies, just not the thing that gets me. If you're a liberal, fine, that is totally fine, that is your right, no problem. You believe what you believe, okay, that's fine. But when it comes to the point when you can't even have an intelligent conversation with the person that you're debating against or you're talking to on Twitter, that's where I draw the line. And I see all these wrestlers just blocking people that they don't agree with. And what's that movement that they're all kind of, I don't want to say all, but most of them are all about? They're anti-fascist, right? Anti-fascist.
I hear a lot of that. Yes, I do.
So, okay, so they all say they're all anti-fascist, but what are you doing when you're not even willing to engage in a healthy conversation? Okay, you're being a fascist. I'm sorry. You're promoting fascism, the very thing that you think you're going up against. That's how you're acting. And I can't take it. I could not take it. But this whole week, just seeing this, it was just absolutely disgusting. And wrestlers that I absolutely just loved watching in the ring, I don't even know if I just went out the window.
Can't watch them anymore.
I can't watch them. They're just disgusting. It's disgusting because I know what they actually think, and they're not even from the USA. But they
know better than we know.
Right. They're Canadian. I mean, they're Canadian, and it's just I don't.
Yeah. I hate politics, and I hate politics in a workplace. I'm fortunate that in the workplace I tend to disagree with every single person on politics, but we're all very understanding of the other's points, and nobody seems to get butthurt. So we have some pretty good conversations, but I hate politics because I don't want nobody to hate me, right? I mean, who wants people to hate you, right? And I don't hate anybody, so there you have it. But you brought up a couple interesting points that I thought about, and I'm probably gonna turn some people off when I say this, but what the fuck? I mean, it's the Heelcast is for. The first thing you said that was interesting to me was you talk about the Democratic candidates, right? And here's the way I look at it. I live in a suburban area, okay, and we're a conservative suburban area in a very liberal state, but chances are my neighbors are all conservative, and we have white people, we have black people, we have Asians. Everybody gets along great. Nobody pushes nobody down. We all cheer for each other's kids at the games. We all take care of each other. It's what we do. Now, the truth is that we have a lot in common, right? Sociopolitically. And I've always said that I don't think that we have a race issue in this country. I personally believe we have socioeconomical issues. I got a black neighbor. I could see his house from here if it wasn't dark. And just kind of wonder, is he going to have his $100,000 Lexus sports car that he's going to be driving, or is he going to be driving his expensive SUV? He's a dentist, right? He's like me. Of course we're going to get along, right? And so it's easy to get along when you have things in common with people. And that's why I always like to try to find common ground with people, because it's just easier. Life is easier when you find common ground. That having been said, you talk about the politicians in the cities. And those politicians, if they gave a rat's ass about Black America, they would actually try to solve the problems in their cities. As opposed to, wait for it, just claiming that they're going to do it and blaming President Trump, who's actually out there trying to get them jobs and trying to do things that will actually help to get rid of that socioeconomic discord that we have, right? Again, personal opinion. The discord is socioeconomic based, and then it manifests itself in race. Okay, and that's key. So when somebody says, that person called that person the N-word, what's that got to do with socioeconomic? Well, it's because they're different socioeconomic, and everybody wants to be better than everybody else, because that's what fucking humans do, and that's what fucking Americans are in particular. And so it's based in socioeconomic. It manifests itself in race. It's wrong. Of course it's wrong. It's stupid shit. There's no reason not to just love everybody. That's what's stupid. And what really got me about this particular situation was I watched the video, and it makes me sick thinking. Watching this video, knowing that this guy's gonna die on this video in front of me, and I'm watching it helpless. I mean, like, it was absolutely disgusting. And I think that there's probably nobody in this country. I'm sure there's always one, folks, but let's face it, this is not your neighbors, the people around you. This is one idiot holed up in Montana that's getting ready to send somebody a mail bomb. But everybody agreed was just absolutely disgusting and needed to change. And instead of turning it into doing something positive, they decided that they were just going to, tear down a Target. Well, that was helpful. And then tear up their communities besides. And this is where I get off, and I get really pissed off now, because I'm looking at it from a socioeconomic standpoint, and I'm saying, if you want to fix it, you have to build up the inner cities. You have to build up these areas, and you have to make them better. And that's all you ever hear these Democratic politicians saying they want to build the cities, but then they encourage them to destroy their cities the second that some dumb fuck in Minnesota does something stupid. And the guy is a dumb fuck, and he did do something stupid. And by the way, there's a distinct possibility it wasn't even racially related, because apparently they knew each other quite well. That's a story that's coming out. They worked together at a nightclub. So who knows if it's racially motivated or not? It's a terrible look based on race, but at the same point in time, ask yourself the following question, Hurls. If you have no prejudice whatsoever in your body, then you don't and shouldn't give a rat's ass if this person is white, black, green, orange, or freaking blue. It shouldn't matter. You had a life that was taken. And so to me, I actually could give a shit less whether he killed the guy because it was a racially motivated crime, or because he killed the guy because the guy fucked his wife, which some people are saying. I don't know how people know where the guy's dick's been, but man, shit doesn't show up on Twitter these days, right? Or what? He killed somebody. He took a life. A family lost a brother. Okay, this is a mother lost a son. This is tragic. Right? It's horrible, and you go to jail for doing that, right? And so when I look at this, I say to myself, if you want to forget protest, because I'll be honest with you, I don't like the word protest. It has a negative connotation now because of all the riots that accompany them. So let's call it a rally. And if you want to have nice, peaceful rallies all over the country, and most of them have been just that, if I'm being totally fair to the situation, Hurls, most people have their heads screwed on tight and have just said, you know what, we want to have, they call it a protest, I call it a rally, but a get-together that says, hey, we don't want this in our community, and oh, by the way, we feel terrible for what happened in that other community. Fine, go ahead and do it. I encourage it, and I have seen some very, very, very heartwarming rallies, as I'll call it, particularly Flint, Michigan, where they marched from Target to the police precinct. And the cops that were there to, keep order, they were under no distress whatsoever. So guess what they did? They marched right with them and they joined them. It was a very, very, very heartwarming thing, because they started by saying, we understand that people made the police job hard here at Target, okay? And we understand that the police did something wrong at in Minnesota, and the police said, you know what, thank you for understanding how difficult our job is. And then the police also said, and we know we got a lot of work to do, and we're not going to do that in this community. It was very, very, very heartwarming. So you have all this stuff going down, but people are just acting like they're animals. It's very difficult for me to get through an anarchist day. I don't believe in anarchy. I don't agree with anarchy. Two wrongs never make a right. We have to be better. And that's the message that needs to be coming out right now. We have to be better. And it starts with the protesters, because now they're killing people. By the way, protesters don't kill people. Rioters do. Okay? And not everybody that went to a protest is a bad person. Most of them are great people. The ones that killed people are just as bad as the cop that killed this guy. Just as bad. A murderer is a murderer is a murderer. I'm sorry. It is what it is, right? Well, these weren't self-defense things. So it's made me sick. And then what really pisses me off, and this is what really just set me off, Hurls, was that they started this Minnesota Freedom Fund thing. So basically you're in Minnesota and you're rioting and you're getting arrested for it. And the cops got to do, they got to do what they got to do, man. You can't let the city get destroyed. And now we have dumbasses that are like, let's bail them out of jail. So what you're trying to tell me is you have a family that lost a son, lost a brother, right? I don't think he had kids, so I don't think I can say father, but they lost a man, and they could probably use some money and some stuff headed their way, right? And you have all this ability to try to take some money and put your hard-earned dollars as something that could be positive for these communities. Okay? And instead you're gonna bail the motherfuckers out that are causing problems? What the fuck is wrong with you? If every single one of them, Ethan Page matched, it was which one of the, was it Don that also donated money? They all, all these dipshits are donating money to bail dumbasses out that should have been fucking social distancing at fucking home. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't be upset. I am pissed off at that video. I am pissed off at what happened in Minnesota. And you have every right to be pissed off too. And I can totally understand it's not a good look for racism. And if you want to use this as an opportunity to promote getting rid of racism, and maybe just wait for it, instead of standing outside and doing nothing but sitting there holding fucking signs that don't do shit, maybe try to get inside those buildings and try to actually advocate for change. I support you. You have my back 100%. Okay? Don't fucking loot a goddamn Target. Don't go on the streets killing people. Don't go putting out posts on social media saying that we're coming into this community and we're going to start attacking all the homes, the people that fucking fly the American flag, because the American flag has nothing to do with it. I don't care if you're black, white, red, green, or orange. You're fucking American. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're fucking independent. You're still fucking American. You should still be holding your damn flag, because it still is the greatest country in the world, despite what these motherfuckers think it is. And to attack people because they support the freaking flag is not a political flag. It's not a fucking political statement. It's solidarity. Okay? I can tell you that right now that poor SOB that died, that got freaking killed on the street on video, was an American. Okay? And don't disrespect him, and don't disrespect all the people that serve us. And that Hurls is what really pissed me off. And I'm like, I am so done with these assholes. And then you've got Tony fucking Khan, who's tweeting to Linda Hogan saying, you're no longer invited to one of our shows because she said that the rioters on TV were all black. And if you look at the videos, for the most part, they're not all black, but there's a lot of them that are. And instead of saying nothing, or just being like, Linda, you need to watch more TV. You're just wrong. You're an idiot. No, he branded her as a racist because she said that. She's not a racist for saying that. Although I do have to tell you, as much as it pains me to say, because Tony Khan pissed me off here, there is a very strong point that they were not all black. I saw lots of white people with masks on too doing stupid shit. Now, whether they were the ones that were stealing stuff or not, I wasn't keeping track, because I don't give a fuck. You're not supposed to steal. I don't care what your color is. Don't fucking steal, right? But that doesn't make her a racist. And I hate the blanket statement that now she's a fucking racist and not allowed to any of their events. I'm sure she's going to be very upset about that. And her husband's not allowed either. Nope. Hulk Hogan is not allowed at any one of their events, although he'd be a bigger star than they ever fucking had on their show and ever will fucking have on their goddamn show. Okay, but no, because he said something years ago that was taken out of context, and that was recorded that wasn't supposed to be recorded. And oh, by the way, he's still the big attraction on SmackDown whenever they need a ratings boost, because the people understand. No, Tony Khan has to run his mouth while at the very same breath saying, hey guys, would you all please support the center of our show, who, by the way, just happens to be a fucking convicted rapist. So you go from something that's not illegal. And folks, I want to add something here. It is not illegal to be racist. It is stupid. It is wrong, but it is not a crime. So do understand that is not the same as being a rapist. We had somebody locally that they had, and I would refer to it again as a rally, because it was very peaceful here at our court steps, and a black family left, and on the way out, they were harassed and called the N-word by some idiots up in the parking garage that, of course, were dumb enough to get their pictures posted all over social media, so they got outed, but that's what they deserve. And this woman was very pissed off because these people that were protesting with her just kept walking as she was being the victim of racism, which, if you think about it, is really fucking awful. Like, here you are supposed to be helping these people, and then you turn your back the first time you get. And she was pissed, and she very correctly said they were fake tears, because, quite frankly, you're actually letting this happen right in front of me. She was absolutely right. But then she called out the police and said that when she said something to the police didn't do anything. Well, of course the police didn't do anything. It's not a fucking crime. Okay? It's wrong. There are lots of things that are wrong in this world, but it's not a crime to have an opinion that you don't like. It just is the way that it is. There's a lot of wrong opinions out there. This just happens to be one of them. That that also, is a type of thing that pisses me off because people just want to pretend like they care and they don't go and give a shit. So go make a fucking change. Sorry for the rant. It's not going to be nearly as good as what RVE's was, but Hurls, I had to get that shit off my chest.
No, that's fine. And the one thing about Tony Khan too that he said was,
fuck Tony Khan.
He said your husband. Well, come on, everybody knows Hulk and Linda got divorced. 10 years ago now? I mean, it's been a long time, so that's not that's not factually correct either. But who's counting? I mean, I could go on and on about this, and we didn't even talk about Jackson Riker, okay, who used to be Gunner in TNA. This guy's a Marine, man. He bleeds American, okay? And then all I see is, bootlicker this, bootlicker that, like it's supposed to be some edgy term to get, to really it's like the ultimate insult. But when I saw Jackson Riker post this, supporting the president, supporting the United States of America, and just seeing all the vitriol and the toxic hatred, guys like Joey Janela and Jake Diener.
Joey Janela and Jake Diener. Well, there's two guys that are really, really, they're yeah, right. Mr. Irrelevant is relevant next to those two dumb fucks.
And you know me, like I've been a huge supporter of Jake Diener's wrestling ability. I think the guy was tremendously talented. I still do. It's not, even though he's got a shit for brains opinion on this.
I like Cody Diener. I think he's more fun.
Right. Oh yeah, he definitely is. And just when you say like eat shit and die, and then Joey Janela is saying, "Oh, somebody's gonna poop in your bags," like, give me a fucking break, okay? This guy served in the Marines, going on hostile territory, and just even if you don't even agree with the war, this guy is a freaking badass, okay? And you're gonna say somebody's gonna shit in his bag, Joey Janela?
What did Joey Janela do to get his dick in Penelope Ford anyway? How does that happen? Was it accidental? Was she just fucking high?
I don't know. I have no clue. But, like, okay, if you went to a wrestling event, and there's one guy you feel fine picking a fight with and not...
It's Joey Janela.
That'd be Joey Janela.
Actually, Marco's stunt, but I'd probably get picked on for picking on him.
Right. So I'll just go with Joey Janela. Like, you see Joey Janela, and then, you see guys like Ricochet say stuff like, I hope this is just your heel persona. Like, are these guys, are they clueless? Do they not think? I even said on a post, do you guys not think conservatives watch wrestling? Do you think it's just liberals? Because I remember there was a connotation of, conservative rednecks. They're the only ones that watch wrestling. Well, apparently that's out the window now, right? I mean, because apparently only wrestlers think liberals watch wrestling now. So this is not, and you're exactly right. I watched that video too, and I was sick to my stomach. I was absolutely sick to my stomach that we're watching this guy just die in front of us.
Oh, it gives me nightmares just thinking about it. It's and the poor guy who's going, you gotta stop. You're killing him. And then they're threatening to fire a firearm against him and mace in his face. And it's like, oh my God, this poor guy's, because you gotta understand, that guy's life is ruined too. He will never forget that moment. He will haunt him for the rest of his life. He was trying to do something and couldn't. It's just. You have to, I mean, this is bigger than killing one person. It really, really is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But as sickening as that video was, it was also sickening to see a retired police cop, David Dorn, just murdered on the street over a TV, and just watching the guy bleed out. It was absolutely disgusting to see how people can treat other people. And who knows if it was even politically motivated at that point, because they were just a bunch of looters, and that's what looters do when someone tries to stop them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the stuff I've seen in these past few days, and how people are just so brainwashed, and they can't even engage in another man's opinion. Now, I will say there was a wrestler who originally made a post that was, I definitely didn't agree with, Mustafa Ali over WWE, but there was one guy he did engage with that had a difference of opinion than him, and they actually had some conversation back and forth. That I can respect, because you're not just totally blocking someone off. And that guy may have said something really stupid. I totally didn't agree. He said something like he doesn't trust any Muslim because of 9/11, and
Yeah, that's bullshit.
that I didn't agree. That was really stupid.
That's bullshit.
It made the guy, look terrible. But there's other guys, they will not, like, you give up. Like, I brought up a great point. Like, do conservatives not watch wrestling? Not one of them answered me. Not one. Okay, I could not get an answer out of any of them. So this is just, it's absolutely, like, made me not want to watch, and it's just like I have no energy. But then I got to realize, not everyone thinks like this. Not every wrestler thinks like this. So I have to understand that, and I can tell who the ones that actually do, have an open mind about things, and, can actually engage with people who have a difference of opinion than them. And then I could see the ones who don't have one, and they're just absolutely ignorant, even though they're going to call you ignorant. They're call you racist for what you believe in. But
you're always a racist if you don't agree with them.
Exactly.
What the fuck can you call me a racist? You don't know
you're
me.
You're a bootlicker. You're a racist. You're a bigot. All those things they can think of.
Hey, who's the backstage chick for Ring of Honor again? What's her name again?
Oh gosh. Oh.
What's her name?
Oh, Quinn something.
Quinn, yeah, Quinn somebody. McKay. Quinn McKay, whatever her name is. So she started to retweet my responses to her, right? And she's calling me out and trying to make me sound like, like I'm a racist. And I responded back, and I said, this white girl's calling me racist. That's all I said. Because, I don't have a picture on my account. Nope, nobody knows. I mean, you can tell by listening to me what my race is, and you're not a racist for realizing that I'm white by hearing my voice. It's okay, right? It's just a way to tell who I am by the sound of my voice. This idiot doesn't know this, so she freaks out because I left it open that I could have been a black man, okay, a conservative black man, and she just immediately blocked me. This is how dumb. By the way, another Baltimore girl. What is it with Baltimore chicks in wrestling just being complete fucking dipshits? But yeah, I never. The only thing that I said was, she went after President Trump and started screaming and bitching, and I responded to her, and I quoted. I literally copied and pasted from Ring of Honor's website, where she says that she doesn't like trolls on social media, that everybody should be nice, and I told her to follow her own advice. That's all I did. And she went off on me. Well, she wasn't being nice on social media. She was being a troll. She was just actively tweeting, screaming about the president. Well, she's trolling the president. That's what you're doing. You're trolling. So I responded to her, and I reminded her. And if you want to say, well, you were doing a troll, you were being a troll, this, that, the other, you're welcome to your opinion. I personally never went on Ring of Honor's website and said I hate trolls, this, that, the other. All I did was remind her of what she said.
She's a damn hypocrite, and I'll tell you why.
That's all I did. I didn't say anything negative to her or attack her or anything else. I said, this is what you did. And she just went off, and I kept positive the whole way. And then, I led her to believe that maybe I was black, and she flipped out because she's like, oh my God.
What do you do now?
What if?
Well, that's the whole. I think anytime they see a black conservative, they freak out, right?
Yeah.
Because they think. I've seen more black conservatives pop up in these last few days than I think I've ever have, and I've spoken to plenty of them, and it's just, you know what? I mean, it's not. You said it right. It is not a race thing. It's a socioeconomic thing.
It really is, and we need to fix that. It's not. Yeah. It's not that I'm saying that there's not a problem, but I think if you fix a socioeconomic situation, which by the way, the left would call, wait for it, equality, okay, then that would solve the problem. So I don't even think that they necessarily disagree with me. I'm calling it socioeconomic. They're saying equality. The difference is that you have to do it by building up the communities, and you have to do it by changing generations, and it's going to happen with baby steps. And the only way you can do it is by building the communities and not tearing the fuckers down. It's gonna take time. We all just have to be patient and wait for it. Be nice to each other along the way, because people of all creeds, all colors, all everything are genuinely good people. People in general are good people. There are just a bunch of fucking dipshits out there, most of whom are wrestlers, that are a bunch of morons.
Well, I mean, going back to Quinn McKay, she's the one who posts herself in thongs and bikinis all day.
I mean, she does look good, though. I mean, like...
Well, yeah. I mean, if you got the body, flaunt it. But at the same time, anyone
I do,
says,
and I do.
You know? I mean, but it's just so hypocritical, though, for her to say, like, okay, you know, she's that type of person that's going to post that picture and then call out anyone who says, oh, you look good, and she'll take it the wrong way and block you. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you pervert, why are you looking at me like that?
She must hang out with Jordan Disgrace.
Oh, gosh. But you notice the trend, though, with a lot of these wrestlers. Like, they're all in their early 20s, you know. I don't think
they sell their body to the highest bidder and then complain about the people that buy. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh, man, it just comes back. Sorry to go on this diatribe on politics. I hate to do this. I never wanted to do a show like this.
No, me neither, but we have to.
And I was not looking forward to it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this is just a thing in our country. Like, it's just scary. You know, it really is. And but there's one thing also, though. Like, I feel like we haven't even brought up, like, Antifa. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the group that a lot of people don't call them a group, even though they're clearly a group. They're organized. And these are the mostly white guys.
Oh, yes.
In their mom's basement, pissed off at the world. You saw the picture of the one Antifa kid get hauled into the
courthouse,
hauled into jail by his parents. That was hilarious. But these white kids, man, they're just like, they think they know the world and they think they want anarchy, but they really don't. They really don't. What would it, you know what I mean? If they were actually put in that situation, they'd be the first ones to call the police. It's just absolutely hypocritical.
Yeah, the police, some go fuck themselves because they never actually supported them. There are bad cops, but there are also bad people. There are bad white people. There are bad black people. And the percentage of bad cops is actually less than the percentage of bad people. And so it's actually substantially less. It's far, far less. But they do exist. And the best that you could do is do your best to weed them out and charge them and let the whole world know that you're not going to put up with it when that happens. Because shit does happen. I mean, some of these stories that you read are real. And you do have to work on it. But I don't think you have to tear down a target to do it. Now, let's switch to something slightly more positive. I'm gonna give a left side. I'm gonna give a right side. So, Lance Storm posted a tweet about Black Lives Matter that I thought. I mean, like, look, I'm not a Black Lives Matter kind of a guy. I'm an All Lives Matter kind of guy. But I put a like on the tweet because I thought it was really just well stated. He basically said, think about it this way: everybody's house matters. Your house matters, my house matters. But, firefighters, they tend to focus on the one that's actually on fire right now. Meaning that in his mind, when he says Black Lives Matter, he does think that all lives matter. Of course he thinks that. Lance Storm is a good, let's face it, he's one of the few good people in professional wrestling. But that he's just focusing on that because he feels like that is a sticking point right now. Okay? And I mean, to be fair, it is. But, then you got Tony Schiavone, who said, all lives matter. And he got called out. What's wrong? You don't think Black Lives Matter? I said, look, I normally don't respond to this stuff, but I think in order to say all lives matter, you have to say Black Lives Matter, right? Meaning that if I don't want to say Black Lives Matter, because I believe it causes a racial divide, is exactly what it is, and I say all lives matter instead, it doesn't make me a racist because I'm still saying Black Lives Matter, because last time I checked, when all lives matter, so do black lives, so do white lives, so do Asian lives, so do Muslim lives, even Raven affects life. I mean, when you say all, you're even including that guy in there, right? So it was two different ways to look at the same thing, but I thought both handled their particular situation really well. And like I said, I'm not a BLM guy because I feel like it just causes a racial divide. I do think that Black Lives Matter, obviously, or I wouldn't say that all lives matter. I would just say some lives matter, which is how I view Black Lives Matter. And I also saw a video, and I know you saw this too, Hurls, of a cop in where was he? Was he up in Minnesota? Where was the cop that they complained because this cop was on his cell phone when they were trying to ask him questions or talk to him, and somebody called him out on it, and he was like the police chief, and he basically came out and said, "Yeah, damn it, I was on my cell phone. I was, because a 5-year-old got shot in the head, and I was trying to get an update." And then he went on the tirade, and he said, "Look, we have a lot of issues in this, and if you people, guy came out of your bubble, and I actually tried to look at the actual problems in this community, you'd see it." He says blacks count for like 85% of the homicides in his city. What?
That was in my hometown.
But Milwaukee, right? Milwaukee,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And he said that they account for 85% of the shootings and the ones in the hospital for it and everything else. And he says, and I do give a shit. I actually do care. It hurts me terribly. Let's solve the problem of these people actually being killed the way it is. And he challenged them. He said, look, every single one of you knows the last 3 people that were killed by cops, but none of you know the last 3 people that were killed. And that's the far bigger problem, because people die on the streets every single day, and that's the problem you people need to be focused on. And he said, we do not claim to be without sin. We do not claim to be perfect. We know we have work to do, but damn it, I'm trying to get to work. And then he got all pissed off and he yelled at him, and then he left, and to go to that scene where all those cops were with that dead kid who's laying in her father's arms, and they had the nerve to call him out because he was looking at his cell phone, because he actually gave a fucking shit. And I think that puts it in perspective that those are the problems that we need to focus on first, right? And we definitely can't allow cops to do what that cop did. I mean, that is, or anything even similar to it in any way, shape, or form. There's always going to be police brutality, because you're going to have to knock somebody down to the ground that's fighting you, and human emotion gets in the way, and you're going to take one too many hits on them. That's going to happen, and in a lot of ways, that you're not even going to do much about it, because don't fight them to begin with, right? But once they're detained, okay, once they're under your control, you can't just keep at it, man. You can't keep at it. Like, that's the problem. Like, if you're not fighting me, I shouldn't be continuing to kick you. Might get hit a little hard on the way down. Sorry, that happens. That cop in Baltimore that knocked that chick unconscious because she kept taking swings at his buddy, did the right thing. By the way, didn't get in trouble because it was a black cop, not a black gal. But he did the right thing. I mean, he's like, look, you can't keep hitting my officer friend who's just trying to walk away from me because he's terrified of hitting you because he's a white guy. So he knocked her unconscious. You see that video?
Yeah. Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
Just hit her with a right hook, and she just went down like a sack of fucking potatoes, man. And he needed to. You're going to have stuff like that, but it needs to be limited to those cases, right? I don't think too many people on any side of that equation, right, have a problem with that happening. It's when you really start to get into brutality, like we saw what happened in Minneapolis. It's just words can't describe how disgusting. It's a video I will never forget. Like, I will never forget. And if you don't think that we have a problem, there is something wrong with you, right? But we don't have to loot Target to solve the problem, because a big screen TV never fixed anything.
Well, yeah, we don't have to block freeways. We don't have to drive tractors into a store and just smash it. We could go on and on about all the crazy crap we've seen.
I mean, that did look pretty cool doing it, though. I mean, It was a horrible thing to do, but I will admit, I got some style points. I mean, you have to admit, at some point in your life, you have wished that you could be badass enough to do that.
Oh, for sure. I wish I was in Grand Theft Auto and just could do anything I wanted,
I mean, you wouldn't do it because you wouldn't
Right.
want to be be sequestered from your your wife and your kids for an extended period of time, like the rest of your life, because they just be done with you. But I mean, as terrible as that was, that kind of was badass. You kind of.
But I mean, heck, if I ever really want to do that, I will just pop in Grand Theft Auto and play the game, right?
I mean, this is true.
That's the beauty about video games is I can kind of live some of the stuff I'd never do in real life. I can actually just do it, and it is what it is.
I have a friend that owns an excavation company that tears down buildings, and I might just ask if he needs help for a day and just let me actually run one of his machines for a couple of minutes. Like, I'll do all the bullshit work. I just want to run the machine into something just one time. Will you please let me?
Well,
and he's pretty cool. He'd probably let me.
You can do that. Like, in a lot of cities, they have these, like, things now where you can, like, go in. I don't even know what they're called, but they're getting pretty popular over the U.S. is where you get like riot gear basically. You take a bat and they have like a bunch of like old TVs and all this stuff. You just start smashing stuff. I don't even know what it's called. It was on The Amazing Race, and I've seen these in.
I've heard of that. No, I've heard of that. Did they have a name for that? They call it Target.
Yes.
Clearly, they call it Target.
There you go. Minneapolis Target, right?
That's what it is, man. It's Target.
Yeah.
I got called out because I said the Target was a victim. And then I was told they had insurance. And I was like, does it pay for all their bills? Does it pay? Does it cover this? Does it pay for their bills? What about the people that paid in for the insurance company? Whose rates are going up? Somebody is paying. Money doesn't look. I'm sorry. I got to go there. I know President Obama thought money grew on trees and he would just print more, and he did a lot of it. But that's not really how it works. It's coming from somewhere.
Well, not only that, like, the funny thing about that whole story was the CEO of Target basically defended the rioters.
Of course he did.
Yeah, then the news article, though, came out that he's closing, 1,000 different stores across the U.S.? So
that one included.
So come on, I mean there's always unintended consequences, even if they want to say all they want to say. Like all these different companies, like they're just it's good. It's good.
You know what that guy has, the CEO of Target? He has a Google News alert for cop killings, and every time that happens, he sends his crews to freaking Home Depot to buy as much plywood as possible. Because as soon as a cop kills somebody somewhere, Target is out buying plywood.
Oh, wow.
No, man. Well,
yeah, just to put a wrap on it, though.
Yeah, we've beaten this one to death, man.
Yeah, we did, and I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people that didn't like this.
Well.
I didn't want to do it. I did not want to talk it. I have plenty of liberal friends. Believe me, you do too. And we get along fine. We can talk about things we do agree on and things we're passionate about. That's what I want to keep it towards. I don't want this. I'll never talk to you again. Just blatantly, just going the lazy route. Just virtue signaling somebody's different opinion. Please. Don't do that.
And to be fair, look, but people are going to disagree with us, and that's cool. That should actually be encouraged. We want to disagree with each other. It shouldn't be social media. If you don't agree with me, you're the devil, right? Because people are sick of that. I think most of us are over that already. But I think the one thing about you and I and how we presented this, we may have a unified voice, and half the people that are listening are going, God damn, finally somebody said it right, and half the people that are listening are going, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, bunch of fucking right-wing nuts, right? But here's the thing. At the end of the day, okay, everything that we have said has been fairly centered. We presented both sides. We have not dissed anybody. We haven't said anything that anybody that's actually listening to this would say, well, you're this, you're that, you're the other. No, we are people that don't like anarchy, that just think there's a different way to solve the problem. And I think we presented it that way. So disagree all you want, that's fine. But I don't know how you could hate people like us who are just presenting our path that we think that should be followed here. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's not like we're saying, well, good for him, he killed that guy. I mean, it's beyond, we're beyond condemning it. I mean, I freaking have nightmares over it. It's just disgusting. And every once in a while, you hear one of those videos that somebody beheaded somebody online. It's like, oh my God, please don't ever let me have to see that, because I couldn't stomach it, and I couldn't stomach this video either. So
yeah, it's one of those desensitizing moments. Just where, like, if you don't have thick skin, like unfortunately I had to witness, not had to, but it was almost like a train wreck where some of those ISIS videos, you know what I mean? So this was even worse, because it's like, it's in your own country and you're seeing a helpless guy scream for help and he couldn't get it. And it's just like, what if I was in that situation? No one helped me. And that's the way I'd go out. It's just like, you think
what
about
if
that.
I was the guy taking the video and couldn't help him?
Oh.
I mean, on one hand, you know, like, this sounds like a terrible thing to say, but on one hand, you're dead. On the other hand, you're living a nightmare for the rest of your life, and you're sentenced to life. I mean, I think I'd almost rather be the dead person, and I truly, that's why I say people forget there was a crowd of people around there watching that will never be the same. Psychiatric treatment is not going to help them. And by the way, Hurls, got one last point to bring up, and I called one of my coworkers the other morning, and I just started off like this. I said, so if you've ever wondered what happens when you take a country that has a serious mental illness problem and lock them inside for 60 days, now you know what happens, because that's exactly what the fuck is happening here, and a lot of what you're seeing on Twitter and social media is people losing their sense of normalcy and their sense of mind, because they're not quite right in their head. And, you know, one of the things that folks like you and I have to do is recognize we're dealing with a little better sometimes. And I speak personally. I'm raising my hand on that, because the person you're talking to may not be of sound mind, and the COVID thing strikes us all in different ways. You know, you and I are fortunate enough that we have nice backyards we can go out and play in and get some exercise. And other people, man, they've been locked in a studio apartment for 60 days. They're not going to be in the same frame of mind, you know, that you and I are. I work from home every day. You're still going in the office a few days a week. Some of these people have had no outs at all. They can't work. They can't do anything. You're stuck in their studio apartment, and there's not much else to do other than to bitch on social media. So we do have to kind of recognize that. And by the way, now they can get out and they got something to do.
Yeah.
So they all went shopping at Target. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thankful that things are opening up here, and, you know, I can at least go different places. But you're exactly right. Like, I had to just get out and mow the lawn, and that was like my escape for the day. You know what I mean? Like, simple things like that. See the sun, at least. Absolutely.
I mean, we've been doing a lot of landscaping around our house. In fact, I did a couple hours more today. We planted some fruit trees. I just had them delivered today. And, you know, I quick got them planted. I put a nice, you know, edge around them. My wife got one papered and finished off, and she'll get the other one papered and, you know, mulched off tomorrow. So we've been doing that kind of stuff, you know, built new gardens and did some landscaping around the back of our house, and just things to get us outside and keep us busy. You know, I'm going to be putting water out to the new gardens pretty soon. You know, I'll be renting a trench digger and, you know, laying some water hose. You know, we redid our shed. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they're just projects that we took on to get outside because we had time. And we're very fortunate that we have the ability to do those things. Other people, they're looking out a window.
Yeah.
Same window.
Yeah. You definitely need to get out. I mean, that's another whole topic with the whole coronavirus, which is kind of taken to the background a little bit, but it's still there.
It's gonna keep us from getting our kids' sports back in, man. My kids need their sports. This freaking virtual training shit's not gonna last.
Oh God, no. My son, he's doing okay, but he's getting tired of it. At least I got softball. My softball leagues are starting back up next week, so there's another fun thing, at least.
Cool. Well, I say we wrap this sucker up. You know, we've been live for quite some time now. People put up with enough of our shit.
Yeah. I'm hoping this is the last time we ever have to bring politics into a show ever.
Yeah,
ever.
I hope so too.
Doing it. Yeah, I mean, I just want to talk wrestling, and I know everyone listening to this just wants to talk probably wants to hear wrestling, but this was such a big issue. I'm glad we got this out of the way.
I am too, and I've said a million times over, wrestling was best when it was kayfabe. Keep your politics to yourself. I have no issue with wrestlers having political stances, but, don't use your wrestling account for it. And sadly, the company that comes out of this looking like the winners to me is actually WWE, because they're the only ones that didn't do anything freaking stupid throughout the process, It's one thing to say that, that you're going to stand in solidarity for this poor guy, that's passed. We all stand for that. It's another thing to, be donating your money to the Minnesota Freedom Fund. If you want to, if you want to dedicate your show, there's nothing wrong with dedicating your show to a positive cause. But yeah, it got carried away, and the execs were the problem for the most part. But any rate, all right, Hurls, you got anything? The final thoughts to wrap this sucker up, or send him home with?
Yeah. I will watch Impact. I may even do a show with Killer Kyle on Impact. Might just do it. I might. I'm not gonna say I will. I'm hoping I can get the energy back. And I also want to say I'm really looking forward to Slammiversary. And it's also, we didn't even talk about that Slammiversary is on a Saturday, which I thought was kind of interesting because Impact doesn't do Saturday pay-per-views. Are they seeing something that AEW did, possibly that they liked, and like, oh yeah, let's do ours on Saturdays now. So that is something we didn't really touch on, but it is interesting. Also, I just want to say, brace yourself for Raven's rant. I haven't heard it. I have no idea how it's going to sound, but I'm sure it's going to be good.
If you liked what we said tonight, it's can't miss. If you didn't like what we said tonight, you've been warned. And on that note, on behalf of the entire Heelcast, especially my good buddy Hurls, Impact Asylum, WrestlingWithWrestling.com, our partners in crime. Let's not forget the rest of the Heelcast. Griggs, whose daughter is recovering from a planned surgery right now, and looks like she's starting to get to do a little bit better. God love her. Griggs, we got our prayers and our thoughts are with you and your family right now, but looks like this is going to have a happy ending, which we've expected. Raven Effect, who did not join us, but believe me, he's with us in spirit. Everybody have a wonderful week, and we will catch you next time.